All right, welcome out to another episode of the Pirates Cove podcast. This is episode 113. It's Thursday, little after 1 p.m., and that means we've got Rockport-Fulton Pirates head football coach Jacob Bible on the podcast. Coach, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Coach, we're doing great, man. Getting excited about going over in the game against Ingleside. We got everything set up, so we'll be there around 6 o'clock and get ready for some more Texas high school football. Right, Friday Night Lights. It don't want to be anywhere else, Coach, but watching some football. In this case, Rockport Fulton Pirate football. Coach, before we get into talking about the varsity upcoming game and the recap for Sinton this past Friday. I do want to talk a little bit about our junior varsity. I know there was a game that was scheduled Wednesday. Usually they play on Thursdays, but we did have a game yesterday where our junior varsity green team traveled over to Beeville to take on the Trojans. I wasn't able to get to that game, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on the performance and the game, though your overall thoughts on the game. I know I wasn't able to get there, but just want to get your thoughts on that game yesterday.
Yeah, it's a tough game to schedule and go play. It was kind of last minute. So Ingleside only has one sub-varsity team. So we had been looking for a sub-varsity team so that we can get all of our kids as much playing time and action as possible and experience. So Beeville needed a JV game, and so I think it was Tuesday afternoon that I reached out to him and asked if he wanted to play, and so we went ahead and played on that Wednesday afternoon because they have a game on Thursday, so that's why it had to be on Wednesday for their sub varsity. So normally I don't. I try to stay away from that as much as possible in scheduling, but circumstances just arise you got no control over. So um, we went out there and played. Went last night. I just got through watching the film this morning, watching our offense and defense. We're just watching, scrolling through the game. Like I said, it's a tough game with no preparation. So I gathered the kids on Tuesday afternoon after our film session, and I just kind of lined up, what the slot T would look like, and our adjustments to their formations and kind of some basic plays of what they could run, and the dive and the trap and whatnot. So like I said, with not a lot of preparation and just hopping in and throwing some kids out against that offense, it's very hard to do. And but watching the film, I thought our defense did a pretty good job. There was some times where we up front we got upfield a little too much based on their down blocks and pulls, and they had little creases here and there. But we had plenty of defenders to the ball carrier. We definitely made them work for the yards that they got. Unfortunately, we did turn the ball over 4 times in that game. I think it was one of the we forced a punt, and then we turn around and we drop the punt return, and they get the ball right back and pick up that momentum and go with it. And we turned it over a few times offensively. So hard to win ball games when you turn it over 4 times that way, especially against an offense that what they want to do is control the ball. And they were able to steal 4 possessions. And when an offense like that or any offense really where you can steal possessions, it's going to be tough to recover from.
Yeah, and then Sosa's been out there in Beeville for some time now, and so these young kids that we were playing against, they've been running that slot T here for a few years. So, our boys going out there, it is tough, especially when it's something that, like you said, it was just in the spare of the moment. We're going to go play this team with no preparation. Coach, I did want to talk to you. There is one kid because I go out there on Thursdays and live stream their games. There is a kid out there. I just got his name this last Thursday. He's a wide receiver, number 10. I believe his name is Luke Brown. His
Yes.
dad kind of told me his name. Coach, what can you talk a little bit about him? I just think when I watch him, he's just a kid. He's a big target, I think. But he's got some great hands and does some great route running. And I've seen him against Miller and Sinton, and he's a big target for it. Can you talk a little bit about Luke and just is he a sophomore, I believe, or is he a freshman?
Yes, he is. He's a sophomore. No, we're excited about Luke, and I got to know him last year, and I'm pretty sure he was a baseball only kid when I got here, and so I try to get him involved in football in the spring and in May when we started doing a little football stuff with those kids. And he came out and he was kind of hit and miss on whether he was going out for football and not. And saw him a little bit over the summertime, and he's grown. He's the weight room has done him well, and he's filling out a little bit and getting a lot faster. And when he showed up in this fall to play football, we were fired up about that because I like the kid. He kind of has a little attitude about him, and sometimes that's kind of good because he has the attitude of, Coach, I'm gonna go score a couple touchdowns. I'm everything that's thrown at me, I'm gonna catch it. And so I love that about him, and he's been performing. He's been doing that, so he's been huge for that team.
Yes, I've seen him the first two games, and he's just stood out to me. And I write him down on my notes. And I got his name from his dad's. Dad was watching the live stream and told me his name. But I think he's going to be great for us. And you can see the physicality. Yeah, when he doesn't miss the ball, you can see that emotion. You see that emotion on the field. He shows it. And yeah, I'm like you, Coach. I love a kid that gets fired up and is ready to play and wants to do big things. So definitely a sophomore coming out. We're going to have him the rest of this year and the next 2 years. So remember that name, Luke Brown. I think you're going to be hearing that name a lot this year and in the coming years. Coach, now we do also have a game tonight here at Pirate Stadium. It's our other junior varsity team. It's the Gold team. They play here at Pirate Stadium at 6 p.m. If you can come out, definitely come out and watch that game. Support our Rockport-Fulton Pirates junior varsity Gold team. They will be here this evening at 6 p.m. You can catch them. They'll be taking on the Ingleside Mustangs. Um, Coach, I want to jump now to the varsity and talk a little bit about the game this past Friday against Sinton. But there were some players that really stood out to me in that game. And the first one I want to talk about, wide receiver Blake Garcia. Um, I've watched Blake play here when he was a freshman and then when he was in the junior varsity. And the one thing that stood out to me, even when he was young, is he's got great hands. And now we're seeing against Miller, he had one catch, but then against Sinton, he had three big ones. Two for 20 plus yards, I believe. And then the third one got behind the defense when we rolled Sean Howell out. Sean got on the ball. Looked like they were going to catch him. He was running. Then it looked like he just put it to another speed and just got into the end zone. Kind of wanted to get your thoughts on his performance against Sinton. And just to me, a great route runner, but great hands. Your thoughts on his performance against Sinton?
Yeah, Blake is one of those kids we all love having around. He's just awesome to be around. He's kind of a quiet kid, but at the same time, when he has something to say, it means something. He's part of our leadership council that we have here on the football team, and yeah, I mean, we love how he works, and I think that pays dividends to what he does on Friday nights. Is his work comes into fruition. We try to find ways for him to get open, and Dawson as well, and so we're trying to create those ways to get both of them the ball because they're both big time players for our program. And yeah, that especially that last play, whenever he got behind the defense and Sean threw a heck of a ball to him, hit him right on the money. He didn't have to lose his stride. He just kind of catch it and go. And what we really love too is that he did not get caught and was able to turn on the jets and go score.
Absolutely. And those receivers that we've got, they're big time. Jordy Gibson getting back in the rhythm. I know he started a little late, but I saw Jordy as a sophomore, a great athlete, and then having Dawson with that speed, and then having now Blake with that speed. We get going. We've got three receivers in open space. It could really cause some problems for the other defense. Coach, now I want to turn it over to our running back, and that's Traey Alvarado. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this kid pretty much the rest of the year. He was the Pirates Cove, a podcast player, offensive player of the game versus Sinton. He had 18 carries, 62 yards. He had two touchdowns. But what's impressive to me was that the way he got those touchdowns in one play, he broke about five tackles. I saw it on film. And then when he got into the end zone, one of his touchdowns, he broke about three. Not a big kid. We've talked about him, but just seems to be getting better, Coach, every game. You see him against Miller. Now we're seeing him against Sinton. Expectations that he's going to have a bigger game as we play Ingleside and Orange Grove. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Traey and his performance versus Sinton?
Well, first, our offensive line. I want to take my hat off to the offensive line this week versus week one. We weren't as aggressive as we should have been up front as far as our blocking goes, and that's was a big time point of emphasis this week in practice. And our leadership team, brought, was on page and was on board with it, and they got off the ball and they blocked some folks, and Traey did a much better job this week of pressing his aiming point to create those open lanes or create those cutbacks. And I got to give a lot of credit to Sinton and how they play. They play hard. They play every single snap. You can't find a player that is not flying through the football as far as their defense goes. So yeah, that one play that I think it's he cuts back and keeps cutting to the right, cutting to the right, cutting to the right. And, he made the right cut and then he bounced it outside and there was a Sinton player and made a miss. There was another Sinton player, made a miss. Then there was another Sinton player, made a miss. And so it was a big time improvement from week one to week two. And that's what you want to see with your team is, I think for your team, you make the biggest progress from week one to week two, as far as live competition on the field, them handling all those situations on their own without a coach, in their ear talking to them right before or during the play. So we were excited to see the improvement that we did, especially offensively.
Yeah, and to remember for the fans, he's a sophomore. He's still very young. We had him on the podcast, and he's a sophomore, and so that's exciting. It's something to get excited about. Traey Alvarado, the rest of this year, going into his junior and senior year, what this kid, he's going to get stronger, right? He's going to get better. He's going to get more experience, and so what can become of this kid and what he can do for Pirate football. Rockport-Fulton Pirate football, boy, it's exciting, coach. You have to get excited about Traey Alvarado. Now we're gonna jump it over to the defensive side, and the guy that stood out to me was number 54, our defensive lineman Noah Jones. He was the Pirates Co-Podcast Defensive Player of the game, coach. 4 tackles, 4 assisted tackles, 2 tackles for loss. You got to account for Noah Jones. You better know where he's at all the time, because if you don't block him, he's going to live in that backfield. Did a great job for us. Your thoughts on his performance against Sinton?
Yeah, what I love about him is he's very passionate about football, and he plays it and he cares a lot. So the losses are hard for him to swallow, and for me as well. So that's what I love about him, and he showed that from the very first snap. The Saint gets a ball in plus territory, and they're right there, and he makes an immediate impact and makes a play in the backfield, and that's just him, just flying around. He's a very, very coachable athlete, and so I love that about him. And so he's taken a lot of big strides of learning how to be a next level defensive lineman. It's not just about getting off the ball and going forward as fast as possible. Like, you got to be to me, the offensive and defensive lines are the most highly skilled positions on the football field. Like, there's so much footwork, hands, eyes, head placement, body movement that these kids have to utilize with every single snap, and pretty much every single snap is different in some way. And so he's taken in a lot of coaching and knowing how to handle different blocks that he's been thrown at.
Yeah, it's good to have him right there in the line, because he opens up things. You got to be, they've got to watch what he's doing, and that opens up things for Wilshire. It opens up things for Cowan. I mean, these other guys can get it because he draws so much attention, rightfully so. You got to know where he's at, or he's going to live in that backfield and cause some problems for you. Coach, our play of the game this week versus Sinton was Cristobal Deleon. And first of all, I got to say, he punts the ball. I mean, he's been kicking field goals for us since he was a freshman. He's a senior now, but what a leg. I mean, when he punts the ball, it's going to go 40, 50 yards or probably further. He had a great game as far as punting for the Pirates, but there was a play, coach. I wanted to get your thoughts. The ball was it looked like it was snapped a little low, and it looked like he had a guy coming in. It looked like he could have got around and still punted it if he wanted to, but he put his head down, and boy, he just took off. We had a 4th and long, and he just kind of went in there zigzagging his way through it. It looked like he had done this many times. This is the first time I've seen him run like that in the 4 years. but it looks so natural. And I was like, wow, I think coach is going to have to probably put him on the offense for some certain plays because he did so well. Talk about that play in particular. And is this something that you guys, hey, look, if this happens, we're going to practice you running it? Or was that just something that happened? He said, I'm just going to tuck it down and go.
Yeah, so it's something that I've told punters, like if you feel like a guy coming off the edge on the left side is going to block it, then pull that thing down and go around the left side, go against the grain. Same thing if it's coming from the right side and you feel like he's going to block it, pull it down and go to the right, go against the grain because they're going to have to change direction, stop and change direction back to him. And then yeah, after he did that and he took off and went, and almost kind of he hesitated, like, do I want to punt this? And then so we were very fortunate that he did not and decided to go get yards. And what I loved about Chris in that play is he didn't just run and then run out of bounds short of the first down or go get the first down and run out of bounds. Like you said, like he had great vision. He was making cuts. He was weaving in and out of defenders and our own guys, and then to go get that first down. And he was so close to breaking that for a score. So close.
Coach, I think he wanted to get a touchdown. I think when he got there, he said, I'm going. And you're right. He was about one player or two away that just tripped him up. He gets past that and he's gone for a touchdown. But just a great play by Cristobal Deleon to get our offense back up there and didn't know he had that skill. I've watched him play soccer and he's a skilled athlete, but boy, something I think we could probably use down the road if we need to. Defenses are better be careful when we're punting the ball because this is a kid now that they know, boy, he can run. Great job by Cristobal Deleon. Coach, we're going to turn it over to the special teams now. One thing that we saw that we wanted to ask you was it seemed like Sinton, when we punted off, there were some big lanes. They were able to get a lot of yards on our special teams, and we weren't really sure if that was because it didn't look like we were out of place from what we could see when we were watching it live. But was this something, those yards that we're gaining, was it something that Sinton did make an adjustment, or was this something that we weren't doing that needed to be corrected?
No, special teams is hard. It's really hard. I was special teams coordinator for a few years at Aledo and seeing a lot of big time programs and seeing a lot of Division I athletes that we had to cover. So special teams is not easy. It actually is one of the toughest positions I would say as far as coordinating goes, because you have to work with every single position group from offensive line to quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, linebackers, safeties, you name it. So it's a big time position that I see that. And Coach Delgado is doing an awesome job with it. For us Sinton's athletic. They definitely are. And there's some things about special teams that have to be learned. I go back to that opening kickoff return where we muff it into the end zone and Peyton runs it out. And I'm like, he comes to the sideline, like, what are you doing, brother? And he's like, I didn't know you could down it. I'm like, all right, lesson learned. All right. So then you don't know what the kids know until, they make that mistake. And sometimes you hope they make that mistake in practice so you can make that correction. But it is what it is. But as far as, our punt and kickoff, and I think there was a couple of times we did an unbelievable job getting down and covering, and the first guy down there making the play. There was just some times where, like you said, we were very disciplined in our lanes, and Coach Delgado has done a great job of coaching that up. But it's a learned skill of spatial relationship, of knowing how fast that guy that has the ball is and how fast you have to cover ground as far as left, right, coming right at me. You got to break down and how fast is he coming at me for, and what distance do I have to come to balance and be able to shift left and right and make this play. And like I said, they were very athletic. And so when you go from, a fast athlete to an even faster athlete to have to go tackle in that amount of space, it's just difficult. But like I said, it's a learned skill, and our kids will get better at it.
I believe they will. I definitely believe they will. Coach, now we jump over to the game Friday tomorrow. Please come on out and support your Rockport-Fulton Pirates. We'll be playing in Ingleside. Game time starts at 7:30. We definitely love to have everybody out there. The stands packed. And it's been packed, Coach. We saw that Miller and we saw Rockport, man. What a crowd out there we had this past Friday. So come on now, support your Rockport-Fulton Pirates. But if you cannot make the game, GT Sports will be out there live streaming the game. We'll come on around 7 o'clock. So definitely tune into the live stream and support your Rockport-Fulton Pirates through that live stream. Coach, want to get your thoughts on this game. Ingleside comes into this game 2-0. Now Rockport's had their number pretty much the last couple of years, but Ingleside comes back with a senior quarterback in Jacobson, very accurate, very good. They got J.C. Smith, a receiver out there that you got to pay attention to. The younger brother Jordan is also a kid that you have to pay attention to. So again, Rockport's defense will be facing a good quarterback, some good receivers. We'll jump to the defensive side. Your thoughts on what we need to do against that Ingleside defense to be productive and possibly get us to win.
I think in any situation, any game going into it, you got to be able to run the ball. I truly believe that, if you give up 300 yards or you gain 300 yards on the ground, you're probably going to win that game. If you throw for 100 or you give up 300, there's still a pretty dang good chance that you're going to lose that game. So I think you got to control the line of scrimmage offensively, and we got to have some success on the ground.
Yeah, and I've heard you say that, and I think we're getting there, Coach. We're seeing spurts. Week 2 was better than week 1, and you can see our run game. It's coming. You can really tell it's coming. We're seeing that in spurts. We're seeing the passing, but we're going to put it together at some point. And I hope it's this week against Ingleside. Definitely love to get that win. Let's jump over to the defensive side, and this is where I think Ingleside can be pretty dangerous because they've had. If you look at their stats against 2 teams that they played, they've been able to pick up those numbers. I do believe though that for Ingleside, this will be the toughest team they played up to week 3. But what do we need to do defensively to contain those receivers, the Smith brothers, and keep Jacobson to a point where he can't really get a lot of control and get those long passes to those targets out at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, it's a difficult team to defend. Like you said, those receivers and even not only the Smith brothers, but number 13 is pretty good, solid receiver and does a great job of catching the ball and getting yards after the catch. It's going to be a tough game for us defensively. The quarterback, like you said, he moves well. Like he avoids pressure well. He keeps things alive in order to throw the ball. He doesn't just pull it down and run around and gain a few yards and gets what he can get with his feet. Like he tries to buy time to deliver the ball, and most of the time he's pretty accurate at being able to do that. And his receivers do a great job of, once he starts scrambling, they are working to get open for him, and they rarely drop the ball. So it'll be a tough team to defend, and so we're going to have to make a big point of we have to get pressure on the quarterback. If it's a pass, our defensive line has to get home. They got to get there. And for our secondary and linebackers is, when he starts scrambling around, because that's what he's going to do. That's his MO. We have to be able to stay in coverage. And, we gave up a score the other night and, quarterback started scrambling around and the corner kind of lost his eyes on the quarterback and lost the receiver and created a score for them. And that's, so again, it's a learning point. It's a situation you learn from. Okay, now going into this next week, that's what this quarterback does a great job with. He's going to scramble to throw the ball. So, once he does that, your eyes lock on your man and keep on playing coverage and playing ball.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a good one. It always is a good one between Ingleside and Rockport-Fulton, and that game will take place again in Ingleside tomorrow night. Game time starts at 7:30. Come on out, Rockport-Fulton Pirate fans. Just pack up that visitor stand, support your Rockport-Fulton Pirates. If you can't make it, once again, definitely support them through the live stream. We'll be there. We'll come on at 7 p.m. GT Sports. Coach, thank you very much for spending some time with me here on the Pirates Cove. Coach Bible will be back next Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we'll definitely recap the Ingleside game and preview the next game, which will be Orange Grove. Coach, before I let you go, final thoughts, anything you want to add before we let you go?
Yeah, I would just ask, and this is kind of speaking of more AD and not just football, is, please get out and support our athletes. We're growing as far as our athletic department goes, and as far as like how many kids we're getting out and for all of our sports. And so come out and support. A lot of times, this thing that we do in athletics is more than just about winning and losing. It's more, it's bigger than football, it's bigger than volleyball, it's bigger than each individual sport, it's bigger than athletics. It's about changing lives, and that's what we set out to do. So come out and support our athletes and everything that we do, whether it's tennis, golf, basketball when we get there, wrestling, football, volleyball, you name it. We would appreciate it.
Definitely, Coach. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Thursday, and good luck Friday. Let's bring home that W.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir, Coach. Thank you.